Hi guys, welcome to the podcast Time Bomb. It's your host Diamond, and welcome to the first ever episode of the podcast Time Bomb. So if you guys didn't already listen to my last intro episode, I talked a little bit about who I am and what I've experienced, but I did say that I wanted to go a little bit more in detail on this episode. So this episode we're just going to be talking about my history, my background, when I experienced death, who it was, and some of the things that I went through during this whole process of losing someone and grieving and all of these things that come along with it. Okay, guys, I'm gonna try to be as real and try to tell the story to the best of my ability because this all happened in 2019 and it's currently 2022. And if I'm being honest, I haven't really talked about this much. I talked about it a little bit in my documentary series, but I never really went into full detail. And I want to be able to go into full detail as best as possible, just for others to learn and really understand the story and things along those lines. So let's just get to it. So pretty much my mom passes away in May of 2019. It was the last day of high school for seniors. And for those past 2 weeks, I didn't have my car. I think my car was in the shop. But those past 2 weeks, I was driving my mother's car to school, to school, to work, back home, whatever. But this particular day, my mom wanted to drive me to school and then go to the work. My mom hadn't been in office in a week or so, whatever. I'm like, oh, I really want to take my own self, whatever. But then I knew my mom genuinely just wanted to go because at the time, my high school had this tradition where when it was the seniors' last day, we would dress up and all the parents that were dropping off their kids from freshmen up to high school, you would honk your horn, scream out the window, yell, cheer. We had signs. It was this whole big thing. And I knew that's what my mom wanted to do. that's just her. That's who she was. So I'm like, okay, I know you just want to take me to school so you can act a fool, but that's okay. So, we're taking photos, I'm taking photos of my mom, my friends. It's a super, super exciting time because, you just did 4 years in high school and now you're about to graduate and go to college. This is about to be a new chapter in your life. So after the school day is over, we had a half day. I end up going to work. And I ended up getting a prom proposal at work. Super, super excited because all my other friends had got prom proposals and I was kind of the last one to get one, and it was literally the next week and I still hadn't had one. So I was like, okay, whatever. So right when I get the prom proposal, I'm like, obviously, who do you want to call? You want to call your mom? So I'm trying to call my mom's not answering. I don't really think much of it because that's kind of how she was. When she was in the office, she wouldn't answer. So I was like, okay, whatever. So after I get off work, I want to go out to eat. And that's when it literally just spirals. That's when it just goes downhill, just downhill fast. I think that's the best way I can describe it. And I get a text message saying some administrative person at my school wanted to talk to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do? It's the last day of senior year. I'm about to graduate. Oh my God, what did I do? I'm about to get in trouble. My mom's about to freak. I don't really know what was going on or whatever, but when when you're in trouble and your mom don't know yet, you're about to get in trouble. You're like, oh dang, you're trying to prep yourself. That's what was going on. But it was I was like, okay, whatever. And I was kind of stressing, but then not really. I kid you not, maybe 3 minutes later, my phone is blowing up. Everyone's texting me where you at? Don't move, stay in a public place. Where you at? Just blowing up my phone, trying to get in contact with me. I'm like, what is going on? Why is everyone blowing up my phone? People would text me, but this was an absurd blowing up your phone. So I was with my boyfriend at the time, and we were out to eat or whatever. We didn't even get nothing to eat. And people pull up to the thing. I know who they are. People pull up and they're just like, something's wrong with your mother. And I knew what it was. I knew that my mom was no longer here. I just know. I don't know how to describe it, but when you know, you know. And I just knew. And let me just say this now. My family, my mom's family, my family is not from Maryland. Granted, I was born and raised in Maryland, and that's where I lived at the time. but my family was not from Maryland. So I didn't really have any family in Maryland. I had one aunt and like a couple cousins in Maryland, but they lived like an hour or so away from us. So it wasn't like they were super, super close where you can like walk to their house or anything along those lines. So the first thing I'm trying to do, I'm like, whatever. And I kind of knew, but I felt like I was in denial. And people kept saying, don't think the worst. But when you know, you know. So I'm immediately trying to call my mom. She's not answering. I'm calling my brother. He's not answering. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I end up going to the police station because that's where I was told to go. I go to the police station, and when I walk into the police station, like, everyone's just looking at me, and I was the last one to arrive. So it confirmed what I thought again, and then I get brought into this room, and I see my brother and my aunt, and they're just like distraught. And I'm like, I look at my brother, I look at my aunt, and I'm like, I know. And then they're like, someone says like, oh, like your mom's gone. And I'm like, I just break down crying. And I remember like hugging my brother and just telling him like, it's going to be okay. Like, are you okay? Like, da-da-da, like all of this stuff. And it was just, what is going on? Like, my life just froze for a second. Like, I couldn't even get together my thoughts. Like, I remember having like a panic attack, everything, y'all, because I had no idea what you're like, this can't be true, but you know it's true. They just told you it's true, but you're like, you're lying. Like, I was in like this denial, but knew, and then kind of knew, but like it was just like this weird phase that I was in. And I'm like, okay, cool. So a couple of days have passed since the day my mom had passed, and I go back to the house that I lived in, obviously, and my family from Philly all comes down that night, and the media, the news starts showing up, and I'm like, what is going on? And everyone's like telling me like, get inside the house, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, who are these people? And I didn't live in like a populated area. Like, I lived in the middle of nowhere. So you had to have a reason to be back where I lived or know someone back there. It wasn't just like you stumbled upon my house. Like, you had to know exactly where it was. So I'm like, who are all these people pulling up to my house? And my family's just like telling me like, go inside. So I go inside or whatever. As time goes on, y'all, I have not ate anything. I haven't ate since like May 10th, and that was the day my mom had passed. At this point, it's probably like 4 or 5 days later. I still have not eaten. I don't even have an appetite. All I wanted to do was like sleep, cry. Yeah, that's it. Like, I didn't want to do anything. And at this time, I still had to go to prom. I still had to graduate. Like, I still had all these things that were going on in my life, all these monumental things that were going on in my life. And it was very, very, very hard to like push through. And it was very hard to just like want to wake up and just be like, what is going on? Like, it constantly felt like every single day I woke up and I'm in this house and I'm like, this is the dream. Like, this is a dream. Like, and it to feel like you're in a dream but you're not in a dream was the scariest thing. I feel like it's the scariest thing because you don't understand reality. You don't have a perception of reality. Like, you don't genuinely get that, you know, time is moving. Time is moving forward, and that this is your real world, and like this is what life is. Like, to feel like you're in a dream but you're not in the dream, but the life still goes on and life is still moving. It was very hard. Like, it was extremely hard. I didn't want to go to prom because I had this custom-made dress, y'all. Custom-made dress. My mom had paid for it, and my mom was definitely the type of mom that went above and beyond for her kids. My mom celebrated every single holiday. Like, my mom was the type of parent that was still giving her kids Easter baskets when they were 17 years old. Like, my mom was that mom. So I was like, what am I about to do? Like, why would I go to prom and my mom's not even going to be here? And she had made this such a big thing. And, you know, we had talked about so many things that we were going to do that day. Lo and behold, I still go. I'm super glad that I went. I still go. I get pictures of my dress. Obviously, you know, content mind, still thinking about trying to get content. But I get my pictures, super cool, whatever. 2 days or 3 days later, after prom, I go to graduation. Graduation was honestly a little bit harder than prom for me because, once again, I'm graduating high school, and my mom, I didn't go to public high school. I went to a Catholic school, so my mom paid for me to go to school, and I worked hard, and it was a lot of butting heads when I went to this school because it just was a lot of butting heads, and we argued a lot regarding this school. So to finally feel like we have overcome this and we're onto something new, my mom's not here, it was so sad. And then to see all of these other kids taking pictures with their parents and my mom isn't here. It was just like, ugh, like what is this? Like why? Like what am I doing? Like type of thing. Okay, so after I graduate, my brother graduates because I am a twin. My brother graduates a couple days after me. Okay, cool. After we graduate, that's when we decide to sell our house that we grew up in. I've been in this house since I've been like 1 or 2 years old. At this time I was 17, so I lived my whole entire childhood in this home. All my memories are in this home. I have 2 dogs. So to sell this house that is where me and my brother and my mom lived was so hard, and to pack up my mother's closet and to pack up my stuff was extremely hard. And even trying to downsize, I lived in a big home, and I'm not even trying to like be like boastful or very arrogant, but I lived a very fortunate life, and to be able to live the life I lived and, you know, your mom be your sole provider and that's no longer there, it was scary. It was extremely scary. I had no idea what I was stepping into, and it just was hard. So after we were packing up this house, it is then my 18th birthday. Now we're on to August, and my birthday's in August. After my 18th birthday, we're still packing up this house, and the day or 2 days after my 18th birthday, I move in and go to school. I go to school. I didn't even want to go to this school. Let me just start there. I didn't even want to go to this school, but at the time, my brother was going to a school that was closer. So I'm like, hey, like, we need to be close right now. You know, we're family. We just went through this. It's only August. My mom passed in May. Like, whatever. I go to school, y'all. I hate it. I'm coming home every other weekend. Like, I literally hate it. Like, it just was not for me. And I feel like throughout from May to August, I was extremely numb. Numb to the point where I could be on social media and seem like nothing is wrong. People would see me in public and I was well put together. Like, I was not what's it called. But I felt like, once again, you're living in this dream reality. You're living in this dream that you feel like doesn't really exist. So I'm just going with the flow. Like, I'm good. I'm going with the flow because I'm like, none of this is real. That was my whole mindset. None of this is real. Whatever. Cool. Whatever. Deep down, I knew it was real, but I feel like that was a coping mechanism for me. So when I get to college, I'm in this dorm. I have no family, no friends, no brothers. I had to give up my 2 dogs that I had for years. And you're all alone in this new place that you don't even want to be at. That is when the breakdown started to happen. That is when everything fell apart. Everything. Not only, I know people like, oh, well, your mom died. Like, your life been fell apart. No. My mom died and my life did fall apart. But I came to the realization that my life had just fell apart when I got to college. My friendships fell out. My relationship with family fell out. My mind state fell out. Like, the mind state I was in, I have never been in a day in my life ever. The stress that I felt, never had stress. I had a little bit of stress, but I never had the amount of stress that I had on me until I was in school, and we're in August, and we're in September, and now we're in October, and we're going through the school year, and you don't like it, you want to transfer, but now you're told you can't transfer because you don't have enough credits, and now you have to stay somewhere for an additional whole entire year. It just was this whole chaotic mess, and that is when I tell you I fell apart mentally. I got to a point where I was so sick. I was hospitalized twice. I couldn't breathe twice. My throat nearly was my throat was closing up on me. My throat was closing up on me and pretty much almost shut twice. My heart was in my chest. I had so much pain in my chest and my heart area. It was ridiculous. I had blood clots. I had all this stuff, but all of it had to do with stress. And the reason I'm saying that is because I had multiple blood work done, I had multiple tests ran, and everything was, we don't know what's wrong with you, but your body's attacking itself. And to feel the type of pain that I felt, not only mentally, but physically, of your body shutting down, and you're not able to breathe, and you're like slowly like taking less and less air, was insane. Was literally insane. And it was so scary, but at the same time, I was so content with where I was. If I was to have died in that moment, I was okay with it. And not once have I ever been okay with like, or even had thoughts of like, oh, I want to die, or even suicidal thoughts, anything along those lines, until this moment. And I tell my aunt this all the time, but one of these days, I was in the hospital super bad. I had a super high fever, and I'm not sure if the fever or the medicine they gave me made me like hallucinate or something, but I tell my aunt till this day, I saw my mom. I saw my mom and my uncle, and I was sitting in the hospital bed, and they were smooth on having a conversation with me. And I tell her, and she's like, at first she's like, what are you talking about? But I'm telling her, like, this is what they said, and this is what it is. And my mom just kept saying, like, you're going to be okay. Like, you're going to be okay. And, like, it was so crazy because I wasn't that type of person that had dreams about someone they had just lost. Like, I didn't have nothing. Frankly, I didn't even think I dreamed, because I would wake up and didn't even remember what had happened in the middle of my dream, or even nothing. So I just assumed that, I'm like, I don't dream. Like, what are y'all talking about? I've never really had like real like crazy dreams that I could remember. And hearing that all these people were getting these signs from my mom at the time and I wasn't, was making me extremely angry. And it wasn't until I was sick in the hospital, been in the hospital probably like 2-3 days now, on this medicine that clearly is not working, and then I could finally like see my mom. And whether it was my mind, whether it was my mom, I have no idea. Like, no idea whatsoever. But I felt like at the time, either my mom knew or my body knew, like, that's what I needed. And I kid you not, y'all. Once I saw my mom sitting on this hospital bed that I'm in, this sounds so crazy. I know it does. I literally felt better the next day. The next day, I could talk again. I could breathe. I could hold my phone. I could get up and stand. I could walk. Like, it was like nothing happened. I don't know what it was. I don't know what switched. And even the doctors were like, wait, this girl yesterday, my jaw was locked. Like, I could not open my mouth. I could not stand. I was so weak. I couldn't hold my phone. It was so insane. But that's the amount of stress that I had on me. That's all I can really say regarding that. Okay, so once my health and everything got better, my life still had a lot of ups and downs. But in particular, it was this one person that came into my life at like kind of during the whole mix of this health issue, crisis thing, whatever you guys want to call it. And I'm not gonna lie, for the longest, I fought this person in being in my life. Not actually like put my hands on them, but I genuinely was just like, yeah, no, you're not meant to be in my life. Like, I was trying to control the narrative, and I feel like a lot of people do. So I kept fighting. It didn't matter how many good things had happened to me while this person was in my life. I was just like, yeah, no, it's not happening. But eventually, once I just stopped fighting and just let the universe do its thing or the world do its thing, everything just shifted. And I'm definitely the type of person, and I believe, like, I believe in the fact that everybody comes into your life for a purpose, and you're supposed to learn something from everybody in your life. Whether that means this person was in your life for a month or 10 plus years, you are meant to learn something from that person. You will gain knowledge from that person. It doesn't matter what the knowledge is. It doesn't matter like exactly how or when you learn something, but you're meant to learn at least one thing from this person. And I always believed that. That's what I was taught growing up. So once I actually started practicing or believing in what I was taught or what I was always just like heard growing up, my life and my perception on the world changed like incredibly. And once I started seeing all of these changes happen in my life, good or bad, even in the bad, which seemed like the bad in the moment, were really things that were meant to happen for me to be at where I am today. And it's so crazy because I genuinely feel like if this person did not come in my life, a lot of things that I've done, or a lot of things that I'm doing, or a lot of things I'm currently working on behind the scenes, I would not be doing. And it's so crazy because I probably would not even be doing a podcast right now, or probably wouldn't even be doing YouTube anymore. And this person shifted my perspective on the world and just how I view things. So, like, I don't know, like, I don't even know how to describe it, like, so, like, crazy. Like, it literally did like a 180 or like a 360 actually, and it was for the good. And once I was able to accept that and move forward, so many things started happening to me in such a good way. And that's why I genuinely believe this person was meant to be in my life. This person brought balance into my life, and at the time I had no balance, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. I had zero balance in anything in my life, in like school, mental, family, social media, like no balance whatsoever, like nothing. My life was all over the place. Like my mind running 1,000, like is running 1,000 miles in a second. Like so crazy. Like it was just so much going on. And I felt like for the longest, it felt like nobody was on my level. And not in a sense of materialistic way, not in a sense, oh, I think I'm better than people, but on a thinking level, a knowledge level, a goals level, what I'm trying to achieve. Someone that genuinely understood what I was trying to achieve. Someone that genuinely understood the type of pain that I was feeling. And even if they probably didn't, I don't even know if they truly understood the pain that I was feeling, but just how they reacted regarding everything that I went through and so many things that were going on in my life. It was just honestly so crazy. And looking back on it, I'm so glad I stopped fighting it and just let it happen. I just rode the wave out, because I don't think I would be here. I don't think I would like be here doing what I'm doing now. I don't think I would have like succeeded at so many things that I've succeeded at already. And it's so mind blown to me. And even just to think, and I'm not going to say this person brings me happiness, because I don't think anybody brings me happiness. I don't think anything brings me happiness. I do think my dog brings me happiness, but that's not the point. I think for the most part, like, happiness comes within, and you have to be happy with everything that's going on. You have to be happy with yourself. You have to be happy with your lifestyle and to be happy. But I definitely do think this person contributed to me becoming a happier person, becoming the person I am today, becoming the woman I am today, becoming the type of creating the mindset that I have now. Because the mindset that I have now is not the same mindset I had a year ago, 2 years ago, which is people like, oh, well, you're never the same. Yes, but even how I think and how I look at things, I swear, like I'm so serious. I don't think I would have the mindset or the logic, or the way I think now if I never came in contact with this person. And it's just so crazy how the world works, and a lot of things have not went my way. A lot of things have went bad in my life, and a lot of things I have experienced a lot at such a young age, that many people my age, or many people who are older than me, who are grown up, I mean, now I'm grown, but at the time I wasn't grown, have even experienced. And to experience the amount of trauma and the amount of hurt and pain that I have experienced at such a young age, and have someone get it. And for the longest, I felt like no one understood me. When I mean to tell you, my relationships thrived after I met this person. Like my relationships with my family, with my friends, I met new people. All these things has started like thriving. And I felt like I genuinely started having like a purpose again. I felt like I genuinely started knowing what was going on in the world. Because at first I felt like I had no idea what was going on. I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing. I had no purpose. I'm just floating. Like, I just really feel like a floater for the longest. But yeah, like, I mean, at the end of the day, one thing that I want anybody or everybody to take from this episode or from this podcast is trust the process. Trust what is going on. And I mean to tell you, it's going to sound so dumb and so crazy, but I kept fighting and I kept fighting this person from being in my life. And the more I fought, the more the world was like hitting me harder. Like, no, like you don't know what you need. Like this is what you need. And I feel like doing that and stop and just trusting the process and just riding the wave and just seeing where things take me have been able to take me to where I am now. And I'm nowhere at where I want to be at now, mentally, career-wise, anything along those lines. But I feel like I'm now back on that path that I want to be on, because for the longest, once my mom had passed, I feel like I was on no path. I literally felt like I wasn't even on a dirt road. Like, I'm not even about to play, you guys. I'm like, I don't even feel like I'm even close to the road. Like, I'm in the abandoned field, like in the middle of nowhere. That's how it felt. But nothing I want you guys to take from this podcast is, I genuinely, or just from this episode, I want people to know, like, what you see on social media is fake. And I know people say that all the time, but a lot of people, majority of the people in my life who know me personally, have no idea what I felt or how much of a wreck I felt like, or how much was going through my mind, or how much stress I was, because I didn't tell nobody. And I don't want anybody to ever think, oh, well, she has her life put together, she seems so good, but like in reality, behind the screen, behind the Instagram post, I'm posting this Instagram post, or posting this or posting that, or even not even posting, walking to the store, getting groceries, getting up out of my bed. That may have took me 2 hours to get up. That does not mean I'm still not struggling, and that doesn't mean that you still can't be a wreck. And I felt like for the longest, like, I felt ashamed. Like, I couldn't tell nobody that I was hurt, or I couldn't cry in front of people. And I don't want people to ever think, oh, well, like, you know, she lost her mom and she got back up and she's doing it, boom, 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 boom. Yes, but no. I got back up and I was doing things because I like I told you guys, I lived in this dream world for the longest time, and to be snapped out of that and be back in reality was such like a culture shock. But at the same time, it was what needed to be done, because you can't live in a dream world for forever. And that's one thing that I want people to take away. And it's like, it's okay to cry. It's okay to be a wreck for 2 days, 3 days, a week, a month. If you want to be a wreck for 6 months, do that. Because it's a part of the process. It's a part of becoming the person that you're meant to be 8 months from today, or 5 years from today. And everything that has happened to me has allowed me to be the person I am today, has allowed me to be able to start this podcast, has allowed me to be able to grow and be able to have certain relationships with certain people. Because if this has never happened to me, I would not be the person I am today. And I've been through a lot of stuff, and it just is crazy how in the moment you're like, why me? But now looking forward, you're like, okay. Granted, I'm still kind of like, why me? But looking forward, I'm like, okay, I had to do certain things to get to where I am today. And one thing I also want to say, just like my last point, one thing I want to say is, don't ever regret anything that you do. And for the longest, I had a lot of regret, and I think that's another reason why I was stressing and my body was going through all these changes and shutting down and all this stuff, was because I regretted so many things. I regretted so much. I regretted like certain actions, certain things I said. And it's like, when I look back now, like today, currently today, when I look back today, I'm like, you did or said what you knew was best at the time. Because I'm not a spiteful person. I'm not like an evil person. So I did what was best for me at the time, or I did what was best for so-and-so at the time. I can't look back now and regret what I've done, because at the time I didn't have the knowledge that I currently have now. I didn't know the effects or the outcome of me saying or me doing or me going certain places would have caused myself in the future. So that's one thing I want to say, is don't ever regret anything, because you should be making the best decision or best choice that you could make in that moment, in that place, in that time. And at the end of the day, like whatever decision you made, regardless of what it is, has helped you or is going to help you become what you're meant to be in the future. But that is all I have for you guys today. I know it was super long. I just thought it was important to give you guys the background, the history of me, so that moving forward, you guys can understand certain things that I will be talking about. You guys can also understand some of the trauma and who I've lost. But if you guys want to stay up to date with this podcast, you guys know you guys can follow the podcast on Instagram at Time Bomb Podcast on Instagram. I'll say one more time, you guys can follow the podcast on Instagram at Time Bomb Podcast. In next episode will be dropping on Sundays. Episodes drop every Sunday, guys. But I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.